Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer 7811-11-633. This is a package of trim plates for the Bommer 7811 series, well, 7800 series double-acting spring or floor pivots. It's not for all of the 7800 series because there are different models, and they're broken up by whether or not they're hold open or not, the weight of the door, but whether or not the trim plate is made of steel or brass. The 7811, which is what this is from, one of the ones that it's from, is the brass version. I believe the 7821 is the brass version. So this is made of steel, is what this is. And the 7811, which is mentioned in the part number, is, I think, in my experience, certainly the most common of all trim plates. When you buy one, you're going to get two trim plates. They are literally identical. There's nothing different about them at all, which is unfortunate because what I mean by that is you can use this on this side of the door or this side of the door, either this side of the door or on this side of the door. Sorry about that. And when you've got the preparation, you don't need all four of these holes, is the bottom line. And Bommer will give you all four holes in every instance because otherwise these plates would be handed, and the choice of making them handed is not what they do. So you're going to have one or two holes that the screw won't have anything to bite into, is the bottom line. Now, let's take a look here at what these are dimensionally. Overall width of the plate, about 9 3/4, 9/11/16. Overall height, about 2 9/16. Thickness, just typical, just for the sake of measuring it, about 5/16. The 630, the -11 just means it's a trim kit. The 633, that means that means three things. It means it's made of steel, that we demonstrated earlier, that it is in a satin brass finish, and has a lacquer applied over it as well, just to protect the finish. Now, why would you purchase this trim kit, which also includes the heel plate that will be screwed to the edge of the door, and then the hardware pack, or the screw package, I should say. They're only giving you 2 screws for each plate because you can only use 2. And then the machine screw to hold the heel plate onto the vertical steel portion of the double-acting spring pivot is what it is. Now, why would you purchase this? Well, you'd probably purchase it quite likely because the ones that you have are decades old and they're pitted, and you're changing the color to satin brass from whatever it was, or in this case, you're probably just replacing the plates because they're pitted and you want them to look new again, and that's probably why you're buying these. But people will buy these trim plates in oil rub bronze, or in polished brass, or in satin chrome or satin nickel, and that's to refresh the look. Occasionally that door gets taken off so that everything can be painted. The hardware seems to get put over here and then falls on the floor, and then the cleaning crew sweeps it up into the garbage dumpster the next day. It's gone. So sometimes hardware has to be purchased because of that exact scenario. Now, the 7811, and I'm looking at the cut sheet here, that would be the steel plate version. That is a hold open medium duty steel plate version. If you wanted hold open medium duty with brass trim, it'd be the 7821, as I suspected earlier. Why would you want steel over brass or brass over steel? The bottom line is you would want steel because it's less expensive and it's still a very good finish. You would want brass because it's going to be an architectural correct finish, because satin brass, when the base material is brass, is going to be a natural finish rather than a artificial finish that we see here, but very, very nice finish as well. If you wanted the trim plates in solid brass, you would change 633 to 606. 606 is satin brass with a lacquer applied, but over a brass base material is where that is. Let's switch to the screen view so I can just show you where I'm drawing on some of this information. Okay, so here is the item that we are looking at. Trim plate here, screw package, steel trim kit, satin brass finish, 2 cover plates, heel plate, which is here, H-E-E-L, and screws, and fits this model, this exact unit that we see here. But the link here to the manufacturer's page, when you click on that, that's going to open up, and then from there we can get to the product catalog. And the product catalog is handy because that's going to allow us to review. If you do a Control F on your keyboard for 7811, you'll get to the page where you can see the 7811 material. And I had said earlier that these units change based on whether or not the plates are steel or brass, the duty rating, and whether or not they're hold open or non-hold open. So, you know, the 7811-11 is probably good for all of these steel models. Okay, and there ought to be a 7821-11. Yeah, and indeed there is, and that would be a brass-based material. So there should only be 2 trim kits because these trim kits don't change based on what pivot is being used. 7811, 7821, brass trim. Doesn't tell us that it's steel trim here, but it's steel trim is the bottom line. Yeah, right here. Steel trim. Okay, a very old design. These pivots have changed little in several decades. Okay, the name Bommer is synonymous with double acting and single acting door closing, spring assisted door closing equipped pieces of hardware. And I would very much encourage a trip through this catalog when it comes to anything spring assist and hinge, because the name Bommer is synonymous with that category. In fact, they invented it in the late 19th century. Okay, really nice quality hinge, nice quality company. Their technical support, their engineering, their shipping department, their fit and finish, it's all very, very good. Let's wrap up this video on camera. In conclusion, you know, we don't sell trim plates often, but we do a handful of times a year, and it's nice to be able to get your hands on a couple of new trim plates. I have had customers, and if you were to look at the 7811 template, you're going to see it's got to be these 2 bottom holes, and customers have asked me in the past, what do I do with those holes? I want to close it. Well, you know, first of all, indicate to the factory that you want them to send a total of 8 screws, because this time they only came with 4. And then I've suggested to people that they cut the length down, get a little bit of crazy glue. Dip that in there, set the screw nice and flush. Be careful to touch it flat, leave it alone. Let it set there overnight, and then you're in good shape. I would do that in the flat. I would set that so that it laid flat on my workbench, and I would put that in there. That's how I would place that. Probably what I would do. Maybe if I wanted to, I might turn that over the next day and then get some more adhesive down in here. But, you know, imagine in 30 years when whoever you've sold the house to puts their screwdriver and there it says, I glued the screws in. You could be funny and leave a note on the back side of the trim. I didn't glue the screws in. Based on the design of the material, only 2 screws could be used, etc., etc., etc. I have lived in a house where this home was built before World War I, and when we were moving out, you know, in 1983, discovery was made that there was something in the walls, and it was an article of clothing. So, you know, overalls, in fact. And, you know, strangely, we wonder, gosh, you know, how long have those overalls sat there for decades? So, interesting little thing that you might do for the future person who takes that hardware off. Okay, so fun fact about Bommer, 100% of everything that they do is domestically manufactured. 100% of everything Bommer does is made in the United States. That may or may not be of any relevance to you. I supply that information at a minimum just for your knowledge. I'm not aware of any other manufacturer who makes the same claim, meaning, sure, lots of people, lots of manufacturers are domestically manufactured, or at least Buy American Act compliant, but everything that Bommer does, including the steel that went into manufacturing these plates, is domestically manufactured. And I will add that with the tariff trouble in 2019, Bommer did not see any price increases at all during that time, and it's because they were not reliant on materials from overseas. So again, may or may not be important to you. It is to me. Any questions on the Bommer 7811-11 and a 633 finish, or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. If you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please click subscribe as well, and even share the video with someone that you know. And if you have any questions for a future video, please send them our way and we will make every attempt to oblige. And thank you very much.